to Pica Poco Kitchen. Today we're making fish tacos. Vámonos! One of the most popular tacos in LA are fish tacos, but they originated in Ensenada, which is in the peninsula of Baja California in the northwest of Mexico, which explains its popularity in the state of California. They have a dark history, and by dark history I mean they were literally invented in the dark market, where fishermen will sell their fish and some other less popular species to vendors. Because they had a lot of clientele, they decided to start selling seafood as well. It is thought that Don Seferino Macias Fortuna invented what we know today as the fish taco by coating and frying fish and selling it to his clients. It is a little bit debated if there was a man from Sinaloa who also invented it. We really don't know. But we definitely know that this coating of the fish has influences from Japanese tempura, which was later known by the Portuguese who brought it to the American continent. It is a delicacy. It's rich in textures and in brightness of flavors that have some acidity and spiciness. They are very popular all throughout Mexico as well, and we love them. I want you to enjoy them as well, so let me share with you how you make them. For my fish tacos, I'll be using 3 fillets of whiting fish. I bought it with skin without realizing, so here's a trick to remove the skin of your fish very easily. First, place your fish in a rack away from the bottom of a pan and carefully pour some boiling water on top of the skin side and with a knife scrape it or peel it. That will depend on how thick the skin of the fish is. This is a handy trick that works well with any kind of fish, even thicker skinned fish like salmon, which sometimes is tricky to get. It is fast and simple and it works every time. Fish tacos in Mexico are traditionally made with sea bass, dogfish, tilapia, or whiting, but you can really use any fish that you like. Just have in mind that the thinner your fillet is, the better and more evenly it will cook, which that I find sometimes is troublesome with tilapia. And every time you're working with seafood, remember to have a cold station, which can be a bucket with ice where you put your tray of seafood just to keep everything fresh while you're working with it. Now it's time to cut my fillets. I like to start by cutting right through the spine or where the spine was to make long strips. And from there on, I decide how long I want my pieces to be. Since we're making fish tacos, it's important to have in mind that the coating will increase the thickness of the fish. So thinner strips are better for fish tacos and thicker strips are better for pescadillas. But it's really up to you. You can make it as thick or as thin as you want. Now I'll transfer my strips to the cooling station while I make the batter. And for the batter, we're gonna need 2 cups of all-purpose flour. In order to make our batter crispy, I'm gonna add half a cup of cornstarch, but you could use half a cup of rice flour. I'm gonna use 1 teaspoon of baking powder and salt and pepper. Fish can be tricky to season, especially when it comes to white fish. That's why we need to salt and pepper every layer. I like to add 1 teaspoon of sweet paprika, and this is optional, but I always add a pinch of cayenne, for heat. Mix well, and now we're gonna add the liquids. For that, I'm gonna use 1 whole egg and 12 ounces of a nice dark beer. My favorite is a stout, but you could use a porter or a dark lager. They do add to the flavor, so I recommend not skipping it. But if you don't drink alcohol or you don't want the beer flavor, then definitely you can substitute it for soda water. Any sparkling water will do. Your batter should be thick, like if you were making heavy pancakes. It's important to set your batter to rest. So cover it with plastic and put it back in your fridge. Let it sit there for at least 30 minutes. And the batter may be resting, but not me. I need to make some fresh tortillas. I'll be using corn tortillas, which are the traditional way to serve fish tacos, but I know Americans love flour tortillas, so if that's your kink, go for it. I do have to insist that the corn tortilla flavor pairs very good with the fish tacos. So if you're using flour tortillas, I'm not judging you, but I'm kinda am. It's up to you. Tortillas warm and done, and I have some hot neutral oil ready. Before going through the batter, I need to coat my fish, and for that I'm gonna need 1 extra cup of flour that I'm also going to season with salt and pepper and non-traditional 1 teaspoon of good old bay. See what I did there? And now I'm going to coat my fish in the flour, which by the way, the fish has also been salted, peppered, and old bayed. Make sure to heat every spot of the fish so the batter will stick to the flour. And now with everything ready, make sure to have your battering station near your frying area to minimize the mess. Coat each piece in the batter and drop carefully over your hot oil. If you miss a spot just like me, don't forget you can add some of that batter on top and problem fixed. Try not to overcrowd your pan and wait until it gets nice and crispy and flip them over when you see that the edges hold their shape. You will know to remove your fish once it's nice and golden, or when checked with a thermometer it has reached at least an internal temperature of 145 Fahrenheit. Have your plate with paper towels ready to let the fish rest, and let's finish with the other batch. Remember what I said about not overcrowding your pan? Well, I didn't. And to plate your tacos, you can decide to make them yourself for your guests or have everything in your table and allow everybody to decide what to put on them. But normally, here I'm gonna make one so you can see how I like to serve them. I like to start with 2 of the thin pieces of fish. As you can see, they're not thin anymore, and that's what I meant before, and give them a pat in chipotle mayo. You can make it yourself or you can use store-bought. I like to use some cabbage. I will go for red and green for color, and you can't forget the lime. And to brighten things up, I always like to use extra sauce, anything vinegar based, like tapatio, cholula, valentina, whichever is your favorite. And there you go. And here they are. And let me tell you something. my husband, he's not a big fan of seafood, especially fish. But when I make fish tacos, he's there for it. So if you also have a picky eater or somebody who doesn't love fish, maybe this will be how you convince them to. And if for some crazy reason you don't want to have the tortilla, you can have them as what we call pescadillas. And just add some lime and some nice salsa, and that's all you need. It is a party of textures. You have the crunchiness of the outside of the fish with the softness of the fish itself, the brightness of the leaves, and the lime. Always, you cannot skip it. Of course, the creaminess of the mayo with chipotle, but I always like to add an extra sauce, a vinegar based one, because I think just that pops it up and it makes them delicious. Please, I hope you give them a try, because after this, you're not gonna be eating fish in a different way. Unless, of course, you're brave and then you eat it with chips. Which, by the way, if I ever make fish and chips, this is the coating that I use. So give them a try and tell me what you think of them. And if you like this video just like this recipe, please share it with your friends. Like, subscribe, and be notified. And for more, follow me on the socials. Adios, amigues.